Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From the first to the worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, a professed serial dater, Nicki, a single mom who doubles as a social media expert who is here to talk not only about her company, Tokiotours, but also a crush adventure that found her living a world away from the Netherlands in Japan. Nicki, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on.
I'm excited to talk about. This is a new type of crush, which I'm always excited to get. But before we get into it, can you tell us where we can find you and these Tokiotour adventures online?
Yeah, for sure. So my company is called Tokiotours, and it's Tokyo is spelled the Dutch way, so not with the Y, but with the I. So Tokio, and then tours, TOURS, .nl or .com, both words. And you can find me on any social media platform under Tokiotours. So I would love to connect. If you're going to Japan and you have any questions, or you need a tour guide, or you need help with your itinerary or your planning, just DM me and I will see what I can do.
All right, we'll talk more about that later, but I do want to talk about this crush adventure, but we're going to start with college. I feel like college is the time for a lot of people find themselves traveling or at least studying abroad, which you did, and you went off to study in China. Was that the first time you ever traveled that far away from home?
Yes, I suppose. I mean, I did have a boyfriend in high school, and he was a quarter Turkish. So I did spend the summer with his family in Turkey, but that was about the farthest I'd ever been traveling with someone else. And this was the first time really traveling by myself. So yeah, it was a great adventure.
I've never really gotten to do that. I hope one day. But before you went off on this Japan adventure, you had to have someone to go with. You had to meet someone, and that someone is your now ex. You'd met online. Was that sort of the new way to go about dating at the time? Because online dating is still pretty new when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was before the apps, so it was just a website, and it was more kind of like a matchmaker type thing where you had to fill out pages and pages of details about yourself, like what kind of house you live in, how much money you make, what kind of job you have, what you're into, and of course all the questions were mandatory. You couldn't skip anything. So it was a different kind of experience, but I don't know, I was 29 at the time, and I thought, I've been kind of wasting my time here the last 10 years, not finding any guys that were really serious about a relationship. So I might waste another 10 years. So this guy seems really into me. He's very serious. He wants to settle down. So maybe I should just say yes. I don't know if I have another choice or another chance. So maybe I should just go for it.
Also, you went through all the questions, which that's how I met my current husband online as well. And it was right before you could just swipe left or right. It was right before those apps started to come out. So yeah, those questions, they ask you so much. It's like applying for a job at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts on online dating then versus now with the apps? Since you're a serial dater, I'm sure you've tried the apps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I wish they would make it mandatory that the first photo on your profile would be one where you are clearly visible. I wish it was mandatory for it to be a selfie, sometimes when you want to do the whole verification thing, you need to show from different angles or something like that. So I wish your first photo would need to qualify in order to be the first photo on your profile, because a lot of the times with guys, I'm like, yeah, all the photos are really far away, or he's every photo he's there with other people. Like, which one is the guy? So and then immediately after you start talking to someone, it's kind of weird to jump in and say, oh, can you send me a proper photo of yourself, because I'm actually not sure if you're cute enough.
Get that. Yeah,
So,
you want to make sure. I feel like online dating is kind of like window shopping.
yeah.
And you want to know what you're going to get. You don't want to waste your time getting ready and going. But when it came to your ex, was there sort of an instant connection on online dating, or did it take a couple dates?
To be honest, I wasn't really interested in him physically. It was more like, oh, he is Japanese, and I didn't know any Japanese people. I didn't really know anything about Japan, and I thought, oh well, his whole profile is in Dutch, even though he's Japanese, so he must have some interesting backstory how he came to the Netherlands. So it was more like, oh, I'm bored, and he'll probably be able to entertain me for an hour or so. So I wasn't really thinking anything beyond that. And then when I met him, at the end of the date, he was like, oh, can I kiss you? And he wanted to take me out to dinner, and then he wanted to take me to his place. So, and then after 2 days, he already gave me a key to his house.
Oh,
so
wow.
I thought, this guy is really serious. Before that, all of the guys that I was dating were like, yeah, I like you, but I don't know if I like you that way, and I don't want to introduce you to my family just yet. And just 2 years of nothing,
Mm-hmm.
So since he was so fast with everything, I thought, oh well, maybe I should just say yes. So it wasn't like an instant attraction. It was more like, yeah, he's offering me stability. He has his own house, and he has a good job. It seems like he's the person I might be able to build a future with, rather than it being some great romance or something.
Interesting. And how long had you been married before he mentioned, hey, we might want to pack up and move to Japan?
Basically, we were living together for 5 years. So 2 months after I met him, he already asked me to move in with him. So I was like, yeah, well, why not? Maybe. So I packed up my apartment, put everything in storage, and then moved in with him. And then after 5 years, he was like, oh, I would like to live in Japan for 2-3 years. How would you feel about that? And I said, yeah, sure, see if you can find a job. So then he found a job, and because I needed to be married to get the visa, we basically got married specifically for the visa. So it was kind of like a shotgun wedding. We went to the city hall and we're like, yeah, we want to get married now. So no romance, no photos, nothing. Just quickly go to the city hall and get it taken care of. And then we were like, yeah, we'll have the party later. And then it never happened. But so my marriage started right before I went to Japan, to be honest.
Adventure. And you've been to China, but you'd never been to Japan before you moved there, right?
Well, I did go on a holiday 2 years before that. So 2009, we went on a 3-week holiday, and we were in Tokyo for maybe 2 days or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, in 2011, we actually moved to Tokyo. But I didn't speak the language at all, and I didn't really read up about it. And I just imagined like, Tokyo, New York, London, Sydney, it's one of those cities, so it will be easy to get a job. Everyone will speak English. But unfortunately, the reality was quite different from my expectations.
Yeah, because I'm the type of person, like, I can't even go to a hotel and get ready fast because it's not my space. Or even when I visit my mom, that's not my house anymore. So it takes me a long time to get adjusted to new places. So I can't imagine moving to a whole new country and getting accustomed to new customs and languages, foods, and all that. Like, how long did it take for you to kind of learn the ropes?
Well, I mean, 2011, that was before Google Maps. So
Oh my.
I actually had a booklet with maps to guide me through the city, and I couldn't speak any Japanese, so I knew which subway station was close to my house. So as long as I managed to get into some subway stop somewhere, I knew how to get home. But yeah, it was very challenging not knowing the language. But I was just walking around aimlessly in the city in the beginning because my husband was just working. So I was kind of exploring and didn't really have any purpose, just walking around, seeing what I would stumble upon. And then after 2 weeks or something, someone suggested a place where I could start Japanese classes. So I did that from 9 to 5 and really got into learning Japanese. And then it slowly started to get a little better, but still in the beginning, I would be like in the grocery store and there would be all these cartons and like, which one is milk? They're all white and they all have some writing on it. I have no idea which one to take. They all seem the same to me. Why isn't there a picture of a cow on any of them?
There's no cows? No cow pictures? Like
No, this is just scribbles on them. So like, what is or colors or something? But like, what does that even mean?
No, I'd be like, oh no, no milk. I would have to give up cereal. My favorite.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, or there would be like one aisle and both sides would be rice, and there
Oh.
would be like 85 different kinds of rice, and I would be like, well, they all look the same to me. Let me just get one, and I would get home and like, oh, that's mochi rice. That's for mochi. That's not for eating. I'm like, oh, well, why not? I mean, rice is rice, no? No, it's completely wrong. I'm like, well, then send me a photo next time or something, or go with me, or you buy it, or whatever. How am I supposed to know?
There are a
So,
lot of types of rice out there.
yeah, exactly. So it was so confusing in the beginning, and all the vegetables are different, and nothing is in English, and it's just so different from what you're used to, and everything Western is like crazy expensive. Like if you want to buy some pesto, it will be $6, or if you want to buy a tiny bit of cheese, you will easily pay at least $10 for like a tiny piece.
Oh
uh,
my.
Compared to the Netherlands, they don't even sell pieces that small. I'm
Well,
used to a country where everyone eats cheese like all the time, and bread as well. Like bread is considered a delicacy in Japan, so there's not like big pieces of bread or something. Everything is very dainty and cutesy, and only for the weekend or something. Like, I just want a normal piece of bread for my breakfast. Like, no, we don't do that.
oh
So
man,
yeah.
I did not know that about the bread. I love bread, so I don't think I would be able to survive. I'd have to just. Do they have flour? Could I make my own bread there? Do they have
Oh
things?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'd probably just be making bread. So it seems like it was hard to like. Obviously, it's gonna be hard to move anywhere and learn new customs. But thinking back before you eventually moved, what sort of like pushed you to be like, all right, let's do this? Like, did you have any reservations?
Well, I had a burnout from work right before I was supposed to leave to go to Japan. So
Mhm.
I thought, oh, maybe it'll be a good idea, change of environment, and I will not have to work straight away, so I can just take it a bit easier, and change of pace and change of people might be good for me. So that's why going to Japan felt very attractive at the time. But yeah, I thought, oh, we're just going for a few years, so it's no big deal. Even if I don't get a job, I can put my career on hold for a while, and then after 2, 3 years, we'll go back and I can just pick up where I left off. I will be in a better headspace. So it's kind of like one big vacation. But then 2 years came and went, and we were still there, and it didn't seem like we were going back. So yeah, it was completely different from what I had imagined it. And I don't know how it is in the where you're from, but in the Netherlands, the women here are raised to be very independent, and family is always very focused on getting a career. And everyone here, school is not super expensive, so the tuition is about $3,000 per year or something. So everyone is basically going to college, and especially with the girls, they're always like, yeah, you need to get a career, you need to be able to take care of yourself, and you need to get a good job, and don't be dependent on a guy, and make sure you have your own money and that kind of thing. And then going to Japan, it was like going back to the 50s, where you have to ask your husband for money for groceries and that kind of thing. So it was such a big adjustment. And also, if you go to parties, your whole identity is wrapped up with your career and your job. So the first thing people ask is, so what do you do? And then if you say, I'm a housewife, or I'm studying Japanese, or I'm in between jobs or whatever, then you see their eyes start to wander, and they're like, oh yeah, I think I see someone over there. I'm just going to go and say hi. It was fun meeting you. I'll talk to you later. And then you never see them again.
I don't want to be your friend after that.
Yeah, so I mean, it is really tough on your self-confidence. Like, you went from being this up-and-coming career woman with her own friends and her own life and her own everything, to being in a country where you don't speak the language and you don't know anyone, and no one seems interested in you, and you don't have your own job, and there is nothing at the horizon that there's any chance of you maybe getting a job, because everywhere they're like, oh no, you're not fluent in Japanese, okay, well, we'll call you. So
I wish I knew about the Netherlands and the college and all that. I would have studied abroad there for sure back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, you pay a lot in taxes when you live in the Netherlands, but it's spent fairly wisely. I mean, school is still quite affordable, and students will get some benefits, and healthcare is good around here. So I mean, there's upsides and downsides. If you want to go for the big bucks, you probably don't want to live here. But if you want to have a good welfare system and great benefits, and a 9-to-5 job that actually stops at 5, and where there's no overtime, and everyone gets 20 paid holidays a year, and you just get proper maternity leave and paternity leave. So you should come here, because in that regard, it's really a good country to live in. I mean, weather sucks, food sucks, but work conditions are great.
Oh, I don't know. Weather's I'm from California, so weather is a big deal to me. And I moved to the East Coast of the United States 2 years ago, and I miss my good weather.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Every
here,
time.
yeah, it's like, if it's, I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but if it's 30 degrees centigrade for 5 days in a row, it is considered a heat wave here, and people actually start dying.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and right now in Tokyo, it's already 31 degrees, and it's only May. So comparatively, that is kind of like the hottest it will get in the Netherlands. And in Japan, that is like nothing. That's not even summer yet. So it's funny.
I looked it up. That's about 86 degrees Fahrenheit, and I grew up in the Palm Springs, like the desert. So I was used to like 100 degrees. So I think I'd be okay. But now that I've lived on the East Coast, I think I lost it, because at like 70 degrees now, I'm like, whoo, it's really hot today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Tokyo as well, in the summer, with the humidity, there's like 80-90% humidity, and then 40 degrees centigrade, so probably around 100 Fahrenheit or more. So it definitely feels different than being here in the low country with the sea breeze, and even if it is 30 degrees here, it still doesn't feel that hot. It's still doable, in my opinion, in any case. But Dutch people are all like, oh my god, I'm dying, this is unnatural, this is nothing, this is nice.
You get used to, because I know like in California when it's like 60 degrees, we think it's like cold because we're used to it being so hot. So it's just where you grew up. But you had a lot of struggles when you first got to Japan, but you must have fallen in love with it along the way to create your whole business around it. So at what point did you start to be like, all right, this feels like home and I love it here?
About 2 years in, a friend of mine who works for the Royal Dutch Airline Company as a purser, she came over and I was having a bitch session where I was just complaining like, oh, and it sucks here, and I don't have my own money, and I don't have my own bank account, and I can't even find a job, and I can't even work at the embassy. I thought I could just hand out passports and I could at least make some money that way. And she said, well, why don't you become a tour guide? I said, tour guides? I've never even had my own company, let alone in Japan. And I know nothing about tourism. My background is in marketing. How am I going to do that? And she said, oh, you know quite a lot about the culture and the history already. If you just read up a little, just create a website, something rudimentary, and send me an email address, and I'll take care of the rest. And I thought, this is one of those cases where people are going to go like, yeah, I will help you for sure, and then never hear from them again. So just in case, I created a really simple website, landing page, and I created the email address and I sent it to her, and I didn't hear back from her. So I thought, okay, well, that's it then. And then 1 week later I got an email from someone like, oh yeah, I read that you do guided tours in Tokyo, super fun, I would like to do a tour with you. So I literally fell off my chair like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, how? And so I thought, I have literally no experience with this. So I decided to start with really super low rates. I thought my clients shouldn't suffer from the fact that I'm still trying to get the hang of this thing and I haven't really prepared much. So I started really low and then slowly increased the price as I got more confident and became more knowledgeable. And then 3 months in, I got an email from this lady who said, I see you do guided tours. Would you consider hiring me? So I thought, no, I never considered hiring anyone. But, it would be nice to have a day off occasionally and get paid while someone else is working. So, yeah, sounds great. Come and work for me. And then slowly started working like that, hiring more people and talking to some travel agents who pitched my product. And eventually they were like, oh, and you know someone in Kyoto and in Osaka and here and there and everywhere. And then kind of like a oil spill, it started to go to other parts of Japan as well. So now we're up to 50 people already spread out over Japan. And it's been one roller coaster ride with a really low part during COVID, obviously. But fortunately, since Japan opened up again last October, we're doing great. So I'm very glad that we're back to full strength again.
Well, we're going to talk more about Tokiotours, but I want to mention we've been referring to your ex this whole time because you're not together anymore. You don't feel obligated to share why, but I just wanted to know, what do you think your life would be like today had you never met him? And would you think, do you think you'd still have a travel business? Would you be down this path you're on now?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, our relationship was by no means perfect, but he did allow me for this opportunity to become an entrepreneur, and there was no pressure to make any money because he was basically providing with his income. So it started off more as a hobby type thing where I would make some money and be like, oh, I'm glad you're having fun and that kind of thing. And yeah, now it's something that it's my main source of income, and there's a lot of people that work for me who are also financially dependent on the company, so it's a completely different thing. I don't think I would be an entrepreneur right now. I think I would probably still be working in communications or marketing or some related field. And yeah, it's been a great adventure. I've always loved traveling, so I might still have traveled a lot, but probably not as much as living in Japan, because my ex traveled a lot for his work. And when our we have a daughter together, so before she was born and even during the time when she didn't have to go to school yet, I would often come with him, and he would be off working and I would just be exploring Hong Kong or Singapore or whatever, and be off with my daughter. And then in the evening I would text him like, oh, do you have a business dinner? Are you off with your colleagues, or can we meet up? And or at breakfast, what time is your first meeting? Can we meet for breakfast or something? And I'm very independent, so I wasn't like, oh, I have to see you, or you need to be there to hold my hand the whole time. I was like, yeah, I'll just do my own thing. If you have time, I'll see you. If not, then I'll be off and having fun by myself. So don't worry about me. So yeah, he gave me a lot of opportunities, and yeah, we're not together anymore, but yeah, I'm very thankful for everything he offered me. And although it's difficult with my daughter living halfway across the world with him, still I'm very thankful for being able to create my own business and be able to take things really gradually and grow into things and really yeah, build it from the ground up, so to speak. It would have been much more stressful if I would actually have to be financially independent straight from the moment I started, or get investors involved or anything like that. So I never had that kind of pressure to have to perform or have to sell at a certain price point or get a certain revenue or anything like that. So it's always been pretty relaxed and easygoing. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
I feel like you would have become an entrepreneur because you said like when you met him, you were kind of, well, when you wanted to move, you had that kind of burnout in your other jobs. I feel like maybe you would have set down this path eventually because your other job was kind of stressing you out. I think you would have found something new. Maybe not tourism, but I think you would have done something. You seem like a go-getter.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe. I mean, when I first came here, the border with Japan was still closed, so I was working for someone else. And I noticed that I'm not really the type of person who can do the whole 9 to 5 work for someone else and swallow my own bite my own tongue every day and not say what's on my mind. So I was clashing with my boss constantly, and finally I was like, I've had enough, and put a letter of resignation on his desk. And he was like, oh, you are clearly being hysterical. I will not accept your resignation.
Oh my god. And you're like, all right, well, I'm not coming back tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah, like I'd rather eat glass than say I want my job back.
Oh my god, I need to move to the Netherlands. This sounds like my type of people, my type of personality.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, there's no formalities within most companies. There's no hierarchy. You can just say to your boss, generally speaking, I think you're being a dick right now. And then your boss will be like, oh yeah, actually you're right, I'm sorry about that, I'm just having a bad day or whatever.
I love it. So yeah. Talk more about Japan and Tokyo Tours. Right now you have about 4 different areas you can go to that I noticed. Are there plans to expand perhaps China, Vietnam, other places in the Asian part of the world?
Well, I mean, occasionally I also offer like custom made stuff outside of Japan. So it's not like my normal bread and butter, but if I get requests for Korea or Hong Kong, I will, depending on what type of group it is and what consistency and what price point, I can look into it and arrange it. Like there was this group doing a month-long trip starting in Hong Kong and then going to Korea, Okinawa, and then traveling all around Japan. And they wanted to have drivers and guides at every location, starting from Hong Kong. And yeah, it's not what we normally do, but I will definitely take on these kind of special requests if the money is good.
So you can provide for people if they need it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just a couple who are just by themselves, then probably not, because it's outside of the scope of what we normally do. But if it's like a small group, like 5-6 people or more, then it's definitely something I can look into, because it's not something, like I said, what we normally do. So it does require a bit of extra time and attention to dig into my network and to see if there's anyone available. So I can do it, but it's not something we would normally post on the website.
You also offer these tours in a number of languages, which I think is really cool. And since I don't travel at all, really, I want to know, is that like a common attribute of travel tours and all these things?
No, not at all. I mean, most of the guides in Japan, they work for themselves, and they are Japanese, and they can maybe speak 1 or 2 languages outside of Japanese. So maybe they can speak English, or they can speak French, or English and French. But the thing about Japanese guides, it's like, this is what I offer, this is how I always do it. If that is an issue for you, then that is your thing, but this is what we do, and this is how much it costs, and there's nothing we can do about it. So in that regard, we are quite different from the normal tour agency, where we put the client first and we really try to get to know them and see what they're interested in and what their needs are, and try to adjust it as much as possible. So basically no guided tour with us is the same, because even if people book the exact same tour, we still try to customize it to suit their needs. And we're not like, we start off in 1852. I mean, if that's what people are interested in, of course we have the history buffs as well, we can do it. But a lot of people they have like a niche interest. They're more into anime, or they're into a food culture, or they're into architecture, or something really specific like samurai culture or something like that. So we try to really look at it from their point of view, like, oh, they have kids, maybe we can do a bit more kids friendly stuff, and try to really accommodate them and see, like, oh, well, you're coming in this season, so maybe this would be fun, and this is the local stuff that's going on right now, festivals or whatever. Is that something you want to do, or you want to do highlights, or you want to do off the beaten track, or you want to do a mix? Or really try to have a customer centered approach, and not like push it through their throats, like, this is our product, take it or leave it, and if not, then good luck finding your own way.
That's what I also liked about this, is that you offer different types of tours, because not everybody wants to see the city the same way. I know when I went to New Orleans, I don't really like to drink, so I really like the ghost tours, which you offer. You have bike tours, hiking, and so much more, like food, which I'm really interested in. But for you, what is your favorite way to explore new cities?
My favorite way. Well, definitely, I feel the first day, provided that you're going to stay somewhere longer, then the first day with a guide, I feel, especially if it's a local person that's lived there for a while, really gives you a lot of benefits where they can give you so many insider information and so many tricks and tips on how to best explore the city, how to take advantage of vouchers or special offers, or like maybe there's a special train card that you can get only at a certain station or something, or backdoor entrance or stuff like that, you know. So the first day I prefer to have a guide to get and just ask them as much as possible, like, oh, where should I go, what are the best places to eat, and what kind of other background information can you help me to make my trip more pleasurable. And like, this is the itinerary I have planned, would you change anything, do you have any tips for any of the other cities that I want to go to. And then yeah, I really like to be around locals as well, you know, not just go to the highlights, but really uh, go off the beaten path and kind of the more exotic places, the little alleyways where the most tourists don't venture.
I gotta say, my favorite thing whenever I go to a new city, I like to see their grocery stores. We talked about the
Yeah,
price
me
and
too.
everything. I just think when I was little, I was so infatuated with the everyday lives of people in other countries. I was like, I don't really want to see the monuments. I want to see like how they got ready for school, or like how they got to school. Like that was what I was interested in. So I get you on wanting to be near the locals, because that's what life is like there. The locals aren't going to all these like touristy spots all the time unless they have family in town. Then they gotta take
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to the United States, we went to Target. I was like, can you just pick me up at 5? Just leave me here.
Oh my,
Like, this is amazing.
we went to Nashville a few months ago, and there was a woman from Canada, and we were like, oh, where are you heading today? She's like, I'm going to Target. Like, she was so excited. Like, well, good for you, have fun, it's a great fun store to go to.
Yeah, I just like to, like, in France, you have kind of something similar. These really huge stores where you can get a pack of gum or come out with a yacht or anything in between. You know, you can drive a car out of the store if you want to. They have groceries, they have clothes, they have DIY, they have pets, they have anything you can possibly imagine. So it's just amazing to see all the stuff they sell there, and it's so different from anything that we have in the Netherlands. The supermarkets are, everything is packaged, you know, there's no whole anything there, you know. There they have like little sharks that are on sale, like, oh my god. Yeah, I mean, you can buy them and actually eat them, like, okay, interesting.
Wow, yeah, I would definitely just check out local stores. That's all my favorite thing. But since you got to pretty much be a local in Japan, you lived there quite some time, I'd like to know your favorite places there. So I want to start with your favorite place to take a bike ride in Japan.
The whole of Japan, it might be a bit difficult because there's too many places, but if we settle on just Tokyo,
Yeah, we'll go.
During the evening, I really like Toyosu because it is like Tokyo itself. Everything is very close together. The streets are very narrow, and there's lots of tall buildings, and there's not a lot of space, and it's a very frenetic energy, and there's people everywhere. But if you go to Toyosu, it's more like big avenues, there's lots of room, there's huge sidewalks, there's cycling lanes, there's lots of water, it's close to Tokyo Bay and the Sumida River, and you have a very expansive view over the water, and you see the reflection of the buildings in the water at night with the lights and the bridges, and in the distance you see the sparkling lights of Tokyo Tower and the Sky Tree and the Rainbow Bridge. and it's so soothing, I feel. So you have the nice sea breeze coming in, and you smell the salty air, and it's not as hot and humid as it is if you are like within Shibuya. It's kind of dank and smells like sewer, and it's so busy and hot. But in Toyosu, there's just a nice breeze, and you can just cycle around and just clear your mind and listen to some music or something, and maybe sit on a bench for a bit and look around over the waterfront. So I really like that area, especially at night. And yeah, another area that is really nice in the evening, if you take the train track between Tokyo Station around Nihonbashi and you walk towards Shimbashi, there's this whole area where underneath the railway tracks on both sides there's all these little tucked away restaurants. They're
Oh,
really small, and there's a lot of the restaurants there. You can sit with maybe 10 people or something. They're really small and cozy, and lots of locals. So that is a really nice area to explore for food. And during the day, the Tsukiji, the outer market, and Higashi Ginza is very nice to go around. But you need to be there before 2 p.m. because after 2, everyone packs up and there's not so much to see anymore. But yeah, there's lots of street food there. People selling fish, ready-made stuff, cooking wares like knives and things that you might need in the kitchen. So that's a nice area to explore. And Higashi Ginza with the Kabukiza, the Kabuki theater is very beautiful. And you can go inside the theater even if you do not have tickets. You can go underneath it, and there's a, a basement with souvenirs and things like that. So that's nice to look at. And on Sundays, there's no cars in Ginza and around the Imperial Palace. So on Sundays, you can just walk around there and just walk in the middle of the road, and there's no one there. So just pedestrians right in the middle of the street. So that's a very nice experience. And they even put some little tables and chairs in the middle of the road, so you can sit there or cycle there. And there's if you go around the Imperial Palace, that is exactly 5 kilometers. So a lot of people just go running around the palace or go cycling there or something. And there's tandem bikes you can rent on Sundays. And opposite the Imperial Palace, there's some grassy area around the pine trees where you can have a little picnic. So on the weekends, you often see people there just relaxing or having a little picnic, or just being there with their family or something. So yeah, those are all really nice areas to go to, I think.
you mentioned food, so I'm gonna ask, where was your favorite place to eat in Japan? Like every time you went out, that was what you wanted to eat.
My favorite thing to eat in Japan is definitely yakiniku. So that is originally Korean food. So it's Korean barbecue, but with Japanese beef. So in my opinion, much, 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 much better than the Korean version, because it just has better quality meat. So if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you can still go there because you can also do vegetables on the barbecue, but probably not the best place to go. So it's definitely more for people who enjoy meat. But they have all these plates with marinated different kinds of beef and pork, and it's just so amazing. If you like meat, then it's just divine. It's like the cows will get a massage daily and have this special bamboo stuff that they eat, and it's just so succulent and so tasty.
Well,
Doesn't
dang.
compare to anything. It's really,
Delicious.
really good. Yeah, it's just so good. I mean, oh my god! Whenever I go to Japan, that's the first thing I want to eat. It's just so good.
And I mentioned when I went to New Orleans, I was all about the ghost tour. We did the voodoo tour, and you offer some ghost tours. So, where would you say is like the spookiest place to have a ghost tour in Japan? Well, Tokyo.
Yeah, well, we have our own ghost tour, of course, so that is mostly centered around Asakusa. But there's several areas you can go to. There's close to Otemachi, there's the headless samurai. He's buried there, which is supposedly a very haunted area. And there's Prudential Tower, that's very haunted. And there's Sunshine Building in Ikebukuro, that's haunted. And there's a park in what was it, Setagaya, where apparently there was some kind of institution where they would perform experiments on people. So they would have prisoners of war, kind of like what they did with Jewish people, where they would see how long does it take for someone to freeze to death. So really nasty experiments. So those kind of things they did in Japan as well. Like, oh, if your leg is filled with shrapnel, what will happen? So they used to do that in the park in Setagaya. So that is supposedly a very haunted spot. And there's some other areas as well. So because a lot of them are quite far apart, like there's also the temple where the Ronin warriors are buried. Do you know those? For years and years to revenge their master. So you can go to the temple and you can see their graves, but that's more towards Shinagawa. And then there's another area that used to be execution site. So when someone was put to death, they would go to this execution site. But I think now it's just sports fields or something. So there's not really much to see. But I mean, it's still a creepy area. So yeah, there's quite a few around Tokyo, to be honest.
Interesting. Well, I'm going to have to ask my nephew all about these things. He is in the Navy and he spent a lot of time in Guam and Japan and Southeast Asia, and he loves it. He actually had to move back to the States recently and he was very devastated. He loves it over there. So I'm going to ask him about if he's been to any of these places. For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, especially not necessarily Tokyo, but there's also lots of like theme parks that are no longer operational, where you're officially not allowed to go, of course. And you know, houses that have been abandoned. And so if that's your thing, there's even an island where they built this city on top of the island, and then the whole island got abandoned, but the buildings are still there. So it's very dangerous to go there, apparently, because there hasn't been any maintenance done in years and years and years. But if you like these abandoned places, then that's definitely interesting.
I don't think I'm that adventurous, but I definitely would check out all the food because I'm a foodie. And I definitely got to get a passport and go to Japan someday.
Yeah.
But can you remind people where they can find you and these Tokyo tours online?
Yes, so you can go to www.tokyotours.nl or .com. And those are our two homepages. And you can email me at Nicki, Nicki, at tokyotours.com. Or you can find me on any social media platform like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn under Tokyo Tours. So just shoot me a DM and I would love to help you prepare your trip to Japan, or to help you find a tour guide while you're in Japan.
Well, Nicki, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your crush adventure and so much more today. I've learned so much. And everyone, you can find all of those Tokiotours information below. And until next time, as always, keep crushing it.